Welcome, and thank you so much for joining us this evening. My name is Kelly Bellavance, and I'm one of the admission counselors here in the office at Boston College. And part of my responsibilities is that I oversee the transfer process in our office. And my first welcoming words, I'd like to say congratulations on your admission to Boston College. We're hopeful that this virtual programming will be helpful to you as you consider enrolling this fall. And I'd like to start by just sharing with you a little bit about this application cycle. Our office received over 1,500 applications from prospective transfer students like yourselves, and we offered admission to just over 300 of them. So our acceptance rate was 20% this year. And our team of transfer counselors was especially impressed with all of your accomplishments, both in the classroom and out of the classroom. And the average college GPA for admitted students this year was a 3.8. So we were especially impressed with your academic achievement. And we're so excited about the talents that you will bring to our community and hope that what you learn about BC over the next few weeks will be in line with what you're looking for as you continue your college journey. Now, in a normal year, we would be getting ready to welcome you to campus for an accepted student program. And you would have been able to meet the transfer team in the admission office who reviewed your application. You would hear from multiple offices about the resources and opportunities for students to take advantage of at BC. And you would have had lunch with faculty members and advisors who could talk with you specifically about how your credits come in and how they would fit into your BC curriculum moving forward. But unfortunately, this is no normal year. And we've all been affected by the coronavirus and the stay-at-home orders and online learning and the working environment, the working remotely measures that have been put into place to help prevent the spread. So in lieu of being able to visit with you in person and on campus, we're doing the next best thing with this webinar. And I'm going to attempt to condense what is normally a half-day program into 45 minutes or so, because we definitely want to be respectful of your time this evening. But what that means is that there's likely to be a lot of questions to come after this webinar and also in the days ahead. And I just want to reiterate that I want you all to know the transfer team is here for you. You can send an email to transfer@bc.edu, and your message will be forwarded to the team member who read your application. You can also find our contact information on our admission webpage. On the left-hand side of that page, there is a link to contact admission. And then when you click on it, if you scroll down below all of our pictures, you will see a link on the left for transfer, and you'll see our team names and contact information there for you. We know that this transfer process is very nuanced and that each of you has a different story, different courses to transfer in, and different academic goals, and we're here to help you. If you have questions as this webinar goes on tonight, please submit them through the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen, and some of my colleagues will be answering them for you as we go through the presentation. Some of you submitted some questions when you registered for the webinar, and thank you for doing that. I'll be answering most of those as I go through the presentation and some of those at the end. But let me get to the biggest question right away, which is what will be happening at BC this fall? It's certainly a question that's on everyone's mind, and I wish I had an answer for you. I can tell you that no formal announcement has been made yet, but I can assure you that the leadership of Boston College is working to answer this question. And as soon as there's news to share, we will communicate that with current and new BC students. I think it's worth stating that online learning for the fall will be an absolute last resort. Our faculty, staff, and students are all so eager to return to campus, especially since the spring semester was cut short. And we're all very hopeful that we will be able to commence with the fall semester in a way that will be safe for everyone. So I'm going to go ahead and start the presentation. Let me just share my screen and pull up my PowerPoint here. So I'm just going to talk to you as we go through this. And I'm sure that a lot of you have done research about Boston College to get to this point, but I'd like to just start by giving you an overview of the university. And I think it's really important to start with the fact that we are a Catholic and Jesuit institution. The Jesuits are an order of Catholic priests, and they have been known over time for their focus on education. The Jesuits believe that in order to truly be educated, you need to study across the disciplines. And so Boston College, at the heart of who we are academically, we are a liberal arts institution. And we do have an extensive core curriculum that I'll talk about later in the presentation. But studying across the disciplines is how the Jesuits believe you truly become educated. And we're very dedicated to that idea. The Jesuits also want to create an environment where they help create men and women for others. And there's a large buy-in into that idea from our students at Boston College. The idea of serving those less fortunate than you is certainly something that I think really resonates with a lot of our prospective students. Another principle of the Jesuit mission is the idea of education of the whole person. And the Jesuits really feel that going to college, while getting an education and intellectual growth is certainly an important piece of that, there's so much other growth and things that you learn during your time in college. And the Jesuits want to create an atmosphere on campus where students have the ability to be educated in every aspect of their life. There's opportunities to do retreats, there's opportunities to do different courses and join different clubs and activities that all help students discern who they are, who they want to be, who the world needs them to be, what they want to do with their lives. Those are big, important questions. And at BC, we do a really good job helping students figure that out during their 4 years at BC. I think there's often a lot of questions from prospective students about what it's like to be a student at a Catholic and Jesuit institution. And if you have those questions, I would encourage you to tune into a webinar that we'll be having a week from today, Thursday, May 21st at 7 p.m. That will feature myself and a panel of 4 current students who came to BC through the transfer process. And that panel will give you an opportunity to really hear about everything in their experience and what they've loved about BC, how it's been a great transition for them. So be sure to tune in for that if you think it will be helpful to you. Within the umbrella of the university, we have our 4 academic divisions. There's the Morrissey College of Arts and Sciences, or MCAS. That is our largest division. About 65–67% of our students are enrolled in arts and sciences. So that gives you a sense of how big that is. The Carroll School of Management, or CSOM, is our School of Business. The Lynch School of Education and Human Development is our School of Education, and then there's our Cannell School of Nursing. And basically on your application, you indicated which academic division you're applying to. But it's important just to know those differentiations. Students can change their major within their division very easily. So if you've indicated that you're coming into the College of Arts and Sciences, that you want to be a political science major, but now you're thinking you want to be communications, you can change that very easily. Just be in touch with us in admissions. That's not hard to do, and the same goes for the School of Management and the School of Education. In the School of Nursing, there's only one major, and that's nursing. It's not as easy to change your division. And if you have questions about that, you can certainly be in touch with us. But I find that for a lot of transfer students, they're a little bit more focused than incoming freshmen on what they're looking to major in. And usually that's not too much of a problem. For our campus, if you've had the chance to visit campus, you know that we're a self-enclosed residential traditional campus just outside of Boston. We're about 6 miles west of the downtown area. And I think that our campus location really gives our students the best of both worlds, in the fact that they have a self-enclosed residential campus that really becomes a home away from home for them. But at the same time, there's so many opportunities in the city of Boston that's so close by. It's really easy for students to go into the city of Boston to check out the different neighborhoods, go out for something to eat, and also use Boston to do gain internships and gain some practical experience in what you're studying, and also do service work for others. We have over 300 different student organizations on our campus, and that's a really important thing to know, because those student organizations are active and vibrant and engaged. And I think it's also worth noting that at Boston College, we do not have any Greek life. And that's important. A lot of transfer students in their essay will write about how Greek life was a really big focus at their previous institution. It's something that they didn't enjoy. And they're looking for an environment where they don't have that. So if that's something that you're looking for, to not have Greek life, that's definitely the way that our campus is structured. And our students find that they really enjoy that, and that there's a more organic way to have a social structure and make friends. People certainly make friends in their residence halls for students who live on campus. They make friends in their classes. There's a lot of collaboration and studying in groups together at BC. And then really they make friends through the student organizations that they're involved in. And it's really easy to get involved when you get to BC as a new student, even as a transfer student. If you're a first semester sophomore, first semester junior, all kinds of students are trying new things throughout their time at BC. So it's really easy to get involved, and right from the start. We'll just talk a little bit about residential life. And When you also filled out your application to BC, we asked you if you'd like to live on campus or if you'd like to commute. And however you answered that question is how then we're moving you forward. So for students who've indicated that they would like to reside on campus, our housing policies are that for students who start in the fall as a transfer student, they are guaranteed 1 year of on-campus housing. On-campus housing after that is available on a space available basis, and you can work with Residence Life in your upcoming years to see if there is space available, or you can choose to live off campus. I've known transfer students who've done it both ways, and some students will work with Residence Life and put their name on a wait list and wait to see if they have on-campus housing. Some years there is space, some years there's not. And I've known transfer students who have said, that feels really insecure and unstable to me, and I'd rather just, sign a lease with friends and get an apartment. And there is a branch within the Office of Residential Life who works specifically with off-campus students. So it is a great way to get some resources and have, a lot of help as you look to move off campus. How long students live off campus? If you come in as a first semester sophomore, you may live off campus your junior year and try to come back on for senior year. You may just live off campus for both years, or you may petition to get housing for both years. Students do it all kinds of different ways. We do have a pretty residential culture at BC, and a lot of our students choose to live on campus. So I think if you've said that you want to live on campus for your first year, it's a really nice way to make that transition into the Boston College community. And we do get a lot of questions from transfer students about where will I be placed on campus, who will I be placed with, and a lot of that depends upon where Residence Life has space. And each March, the current students go through what we call the housing lottery. And that's where they decide who they're going to live with their friends, and they go through the housing lottery and get their assignment for the fall. So that happened this year, not in March because of the pandemic, but it did happen in April. So all of our current returning students have their housing assignment. So when the Office of Residential Life goes to place our incoming transfers into Residential Life, first and foremost, they try to put them with people within your class. So if you're coming in as a junior, they try to place you with other juniors. If you're coming in as a sophomore, they try to place you with other sophomores. And our housing at BC typically is by year, and freshmen are living together, sophomores are living together, and so on. They do their best to put you with your class so that you start to make friends in your residence hall in your class. We also get a lot of questions about the cost of living off campus. And the reality is Boston is known for being a city that's an expensive one to live in. And that's certainly a truth. And the great thing about living off campus is that by the time students get an apartment, they're usually sharing it with 3 other people, 5 other people. And by the time you split the rent down between all of those people, you can often have a situation that is a similar cost to living on campus, and sometimes actually a little bit more affordable. And I think that's a really nice thing to know, that if you are thinking about living off campus for part of your time at BC, it's good to know that it's an affordable option, or comparable to what you would pay to live on campus. I will say that with regards to our housing policies and only being guaranteed 1 year of housing coming in, if you said you want to be a resident student, I think sometimes that gives students pause, and they're not sure how they feel about that. And I think the most successful transfer students are the ones who come in understanding that it's likely that I will be spending part of my time off campus. If you get to BC and you find that there's space for you, then that's just gravy. It's just a really great thing to have that be a nice surprise. But if you come in expecting that you're going to be living off campus for part of your time, and then you live off campus part of your time, it's what you were expecting. And I think it's a good attitude to come in with. So if you do have any worries about the residential life aspect or our policies, again, please get in touch with us, and we're happy to talk to you about that. Study abroad is a big part of the BC experience, and typically about half of our undergraduates will study abroad. So it's something that's very, very popular. Our Office of International Programs, they offer over 200 different programs on 6 different continents. So there's a lot of choice in terms of where you would get to go. If you're looking to go during the academic year, that happens during your junior year. So if you're coming in as a first semester sophomore, you would have the opportunity this fall to start working with the Office of International Programs and apply for different programs and set up your trip for junior year. If you're coming in as a first semester junior, and you're looking to do a study abroad experience during a semester, you would be able to go in the fall of your senior year. A lot of students, not just transfer students, but a lot of students at BC feel like they really want a global study abroad experience, but they're just not willing to spend an entire semester away from BC. And I can see that as being especially true for transfer students because you may only have 2 or 3 years at BC to begin with. And so there's a lot of great summertime options where you can take a class for 4 to 6 weeks in an area and you can maximize your time on campus, but also get that global experience that you're looking for. So lots of options for study abroad. Academic advising. I've had questions from accepted students about academic advising and how this works and when does it start. And at this stage in the process, coming as a new student, it really begins at orientation over the summer. In a few slides, I will talk more about the orientation process this summer and how that's going to work. But academic advising happens at orientation, where you'll meet with an academic advisor. They're going to look at your previous coursework and how it comes into BC, and then they're going to advise you on courses to take. And the really great thing about the advising process is that this continues each and every semester until you graduate from BC. So we have a really great academic advising structure in place where you will meet with an academic advisor prior to course registration for the next semester. The academic advising system's also pretty fluid in that you are assigned an advisor, but if you meet somebody else who's a professor in your department that you have a more organic relationship with, you can absolutely change your academic advisor, and that's a pretty fluid situation. So you definitely are assigned someone, but you can change that if you feel you've met someone who fits your needs better. Advising will change a little bit between the 4 academic divisions. In the College of Arts and Sciences, if you are an undeclared major, you will be assigned what we call a pre-major advisor, and that advisor will be someone who can help advise you on what courses to take and also maybe advise you on taking some courses to help you determine what you want to major in. And once you've declared a major, then you will be assigned what we call as a major advisor, and that's someone within the department of your major to help advise you on not only your core requirements, but also the requirements for that major. The Carroll School of Management, they take a real team approach to advising. And in your first couple of years, you'll have a lot of peer advisors. As you move up the chain, you'll have faculty advisors and advising with the deans. And then in the School of Education and the School of Nursing, given that those are our smallest divisions, you get really great individual attention right from the start. You will meet specifically with deans in the School of Education or the School of Nursing who work with incoming transfer students, and you'll work with them throughout your time at BC. So really, it's nice to know there's a lot of resources for you once you get to orientation and get the ball rolling there. Now we're going to get to a tricky part of the presentation, understanding your audit. And your audit is what we sent to you after we sent you your admission decision. And I'm going to start by acknowledging the fact that the audit we sent you, it's not easy to read. It's not intuitive. It's kind of a pain. And when you looked at it, you probably thought, what is this? I don't understand what it's saying. And if you felt that way, you felt exactly the right way. And so before, I'm going to go through a sample audit with you just to explain how to read it and what things mean. And before we get to that, I think it's really important to first just start with the baseline of the BC curriculum and what it's made up of. And when I think of the BC curriculum, I always think of it as a pie chart. And there's a couple different pieces of a pie chart, and you need to fill that pie chart to graduate from BC. One piece of that pie is going to be your core requirements. And then again, going back to our Jesuit mission, this idea of the core, studying across the disciplines is how you become truly educated. So one piece of that pie is the core. Another piece of that pie is going to be your requirements for your major. And another piece of that pie will be elective credit. Now, if you decide to do a double major, if you decide to add a minor, different pieces of that pie. The elective piece might get a little bit smaller, and then you add in pieces for your other major or for your minor. I will say that about a third of our students at BC double major, and so that's something that's pretty popular. And more than that, we'll add a minor, and there's lots of really interesting interdisciplinary minors available at BC. But if you think about your core, your major, and your electives, that's going to be really helpful as we move forward in this conversation. Another thing that's really important to know is that in the admission office, when we award transfer credit, we can only award it to fulfill core requirements or come in as electives. We cannot assign previous coursework to fulfill major requirements. Now, that doesn't mean that they won't fulfill major requirements. It just means that we can't do it. We leave it to the experts, to each undergraduate department. And so we have a process that we call slotting. And basically, that just works like this. Let's say that you've taken some psychology courses at your previous institution. You've told us on your application you want to major in psychology. And so logically, some of those psychology classes that you've taken before will fulfill psych requirements in your major at BC. At orientation, when you're meeting with someone from the psych department, you're going to say, hey, I took this class at my previous institution. Will it fulfill any of my major requirements? And they're going to say, yes, it will. And they're going to fill out a form that slots that requirement, that course into that requirement. I know sometimes the time between now and orientation, that can be a little scary because you kind of want more of an answer to that. And I certainly hear that from transfer students, but just know that that process will happen. And if you have questions between now and then about your major and about how your courses will work, and you need an answer to some of those questions before you can decide if you wish to enroll or not, you can contact the Director of Undergraduate Studies in your appropriate academic department. So let's start with what is a Director of Undergraduate Studies. The Director of Undergraduate Studies, or we call them the DUS, each academic department at BC has assigned someone who is the DUS of that department. And that person works with all incoming transfer students to slot their previous coursework into their major requirements. So if you're coming in as a psych major and you want to talk to someone about, will this previous coursework count for my major? The DUS is the appropriate person to contact. And you may be wondering how you find that contact information. We have an accepted student webpage, and the link to that page was in your admission letter that we emailed you on May 7th. And that link is also in the accepted student newsletter that we're emailing to you every Tuesday. So you got your first one this past Tuesday, and you will get 2 more moving forward on Tuesdays. So the link to the accepted student webpage is also in that newsletter. The accepted student webpage is a really important resource because basically everything you need to know for an accepted student should be in that webpage. And when you scroll down to the bottom of the page on the left-hand side, you will see a link that says Director of Undergraduate Studies. And when you click on that, it will then force you to click on one of the 4 divisions. And then for each division, you will see contact information for each of those academic departments. So that is the place where you can find the best resources for you to talk about your courses and your major requirements if you need those questions answered before you come to BC. So now we're going to go into an example audit. And this is going to look a little bit like what we sent you. And at the top here, it basically just starts with some information about you, your BC ID number, your name, what you're coming in for your major, and it has your graduation term here. And this is an important thing to look at. I think it's worth noting that at Boston College, you cannot accelerate your graduation term. So I think at a lot of universities, you will say, hey, I'm going to take classes in the summer times and I'm going to overload on courses during the semester so I can graduate in 3.5 years or so I can graduate in 3 years. And at a lot of universities, that's allowed to happen. And that's not allowed to happen at BC. The faculty and administration of Boston College feels that college is a 4-year endeavor. And so they don't allow students to accelerate their graduation term. So that grad term is assigned to you when you come in as a transfer student. And that is based on how many credits we're transferring in. So if you have questions about that grad term, please be in touch with us because again, that's pretty set in stone. Moving forward, you will see that the status here, if something has 2 asterisks beside it, that means that it's a completed requirement. And so the first part of your audit is that core curriculum that I was talking about. And it starts here with number 1 and it goes to number 11, cultural diversity. And so, like I said before, if there's asterisks beside a requirement, that means that that requirement is completed. So what we're seeing here on the left-hand side, these are all of the requirements in our core curriculum. So these all have to be fulfilled before you graduate. And it basically tells you what the subject is, how many courses you have to take, and a little bit more about what they can be in. So you'll see here that for this student, they have fulfilled their writing requirement because it has the asterisk there. And if we look here over on the right-hand side, we'll see that we've awarded a class that's an English core equivalency. It fulfills the writing. And this T here at the end, that means that that was fulfilled by transfer credit. So as you look down through here, you can see that the student also has their math core fulfilled. They have 1 philosophy fulfilled out of the 2 courses that are required. There's 2 courses required for the social science core, and we've awarded microeconomics and a sociology class through transfer credit, and it has the asterisk there, so that's fulfilled. And they've also fulfilled 1 of the 2 required courses in theology. Now going back up here to the math core, you might look at that and wonder, oh dear, I'm getting a note from my colleague that they can't see the audit. So I'm really sorry about that. I'm not quite sure what to do. This is certainly indicative of me having Zoom fatigue. And maybe that's because I'm sharing my screen. I'm sorry, stick with me here for a little bit. Let's see here. Okay. Okay, let me try this again. There we go. I think this is working now. My apologies for that. Thanks, Lauren, for telling me. Okay. So let's start again. Again, some information here at the top. The grad term, this is where I was talking about the grad term, so I don't need to re-explain that, but this is where you find that on your audit. And then down here, this is where all of the core requirements are listed. So again, the writing core has been fulfilled. You see that with the asterisk there. You see the T over here for transfer. And then you can see the math and the philosophy. The social science course fulfilled with the asterisk there and 2 courses listed here. So basically the left side of this is what you need to fulfill at BC, and the right side of it is what has been brought in to fulfill that. I hope that makes sense. And so I think I was at the point where I was going to talk about the math core. And so when you look at this, you'll see for the English writing core, these 2 asterisks are here, but there's no asterisks for the math course. And so you may wonder why that is when it looks like it's fulfilled. And the reason for that is this UV right here. The UV means that the course is unverified. And what that means is that we don't have a final grade for that course. And so this math course was most likely taken in the semester that we're in right now, in the spring of 2020. And so when we were reviewing the file for admission, we have a transcript and we say, oh, in the spring of 2020, they're taking this math course. And we know that the math course is going to fulfill our math core requirement. So that's where we've placed it. But we have to bring it in as unverified because we have to verify that you get a passing grade in that course. So what happens if you decide to enroll at Boston College? Once you enroll, you can just reach out to your previous institution and have them forward us a final transcript, including your spring 2020 grades. And when we get that transcript, we're going to go in and verify the grade, that it's a passing thing, and we're going to update your academic record, and the UV will go away and the asterisk will appear over here. So that's why the asterisks are not showing here. Something that's important to note about philosophy and theology in our core requirement. The faculty at Boston College have determined that for transfer students, they need to take at least one philosophy and one theology core at BC as part of their curriculum. So if you've taken more than one philosophy class in your previous coursework or more than one theology class in your previous coursework, we can only award one of those classes to fulfill the core requirement. The other courses will come in as transferable credits, as electives, but you have to take one theology and one philosophy class at BC. The cultural diversity part of the core is an important thing to note because in the admission office, we cannot award any classes to fulfill the cultural diversity core. There is a form online that you can fill out if you'd like a previous course from a previous institution to fill that requirement. And then that is reviewed by someone in our core curriculum department, and they're usually pretty good about awarding that. A class like cultural anthropology will fulfill the cultural diversity course. So if you've taken a course like that, or if you've taken a course where you say, oh, that course is really focused on diversity, you can fill out that online form and you can get that slotted into that requirement. In the College of Arts and Sciences, there is a foreign language proficiency requirement that students need to fulfill in order to graduate from BC. The requirement is that you need to take at least 2 courses at the intermediate level in a foreign language. You can fulfill that foreign language proficiency requirement by taking, if you took an AP exam in high school in a foreign language and typically get a 4 or 5. For some languages, you can get a 3. And also if you've taken an SAT subject test in a foreign language and received a certain score, those things will fulfill the foreign language proficiency requirement. If you'd like to check out the AP scores for each subject or the SAT subject test, that can be found on our admission website. I can't say them all to you because I don't remember them all off the top of my head. So that resource is on our website for you. If you don't have an AP exam score, you don't have an SAT subject test score in a foreign language, and you're in the College of Arts and Sciences, you will need to fulfill that requirement to graduate. And I think sometimes when transfer students come in, especially if they haven't taken foreign language in their previous college work and maybe haven't taken it since high school, they tend to be a little bit in denial about taking that courses for that requirement. They tend to put it off. And you will probably hear from your academic advisors that they don't want you to do that. Especially if you haven't taken foreign language since high school, it's very likely you will need to start at the elementary level in college, which means you'd have to take elementary 1 and 2 and intermediate 1 and 2 to be able to fulfill that requirement. So it will be important to talk to your advisor about that at orientation and start on that requirement right away. Next, we go into another piece of the pie to graduate from BC, which is your political science, this student's majoring in political science. So whatever major you put, then the major requirements will be listed here. And again, you won't see anything popping up here as fulfilling that because in the admission office, we can't assign that. Those classes will be slotted into your major by your academic advisor. And the last piece of the degree here is the third piece of that pie, which is your electives. And I think students don't like it when things end up down here. And I think maybe it's because it's at the bottom, or maybe it's the way it's worded, courses counting towards degree not matched to above requirements. That kind of makes it sound like they don't matter. So students don't like it when things are just electives, but they do matter, and they are counting for something. They're counting in your credits to graduate from BC. In every division, you need 120 credits to graduate. The exception is nursing, you need 117 credits. And so all of these are counting in those credits to graduate. So don't be worried when things end up here. It's okay. The degree summary, this is an important thing to look at. They very clearly lay out, you have completed 16 credits, you need 120 credits to graduate, so you have 104 outstanding. So even if you're not good at math, they break it down for you right there. I will say that only verified courses show up here in the completed section. So if there's courses on your record that are unverified, they won't show up here until we verify them. So if that number seems lower to you than it should be, it's only because we don't have that final transcript yet. And a lot of you have probably just finished finals or in the process of finishing finals. So there's no way for us right now to have that final grade. That's something that happens over the summer. So don't get worried about that. You will notice here that your overall GPA is at 0, and every transfer student comes in while we transfer in credits, we don't transfer in your grades. And so you start with a 0 GPA. And sometimes that's a little frustrating because you've all worked really hard in your college experience before this. And so it can be a little bit frustrating, but I like to think of it that you're starting with a 4.0, even though it doesn't say it there. So that's a nicer way to think about it. So there's a couple messages there. Basically, it's stuff I've already said. This last piece of your audit is just another way to look at the way everything already came in. So again, at the top here, there's some information that's specific to you, your BCID, your name, the school you're coming into at BC, and then it basically lists every course that you've taken prior to coming to BC. So Sunny Valley University is something I just made up. And then it will list every single course and basically how it comes in. So here we can see that, this student took a class called Race and Contemporary American Society. They took it in the fall of 2019. It was 3 credits and they got an A. And we accepted it as 3 credits of a sociology core equivalent. So this class is fulfilling, that's one of the classes fulfilling part of that social science core that we talked about earlier. So when we accept your classes, it's going to say accepted here. This student looks like they have all of their classes accepted. There are times where we deny a class, and if that happens, then instead of saying accepted right here, it would say denied. And if you have any questions about why we denied a class, you can certainly let us know, and we will talk to you about that as well. And then here for the spring 2020 courses, you can see that instead of a grade, we have unverified there. So again, once we get that final transcript, those would just change to a grade and they would be verified. And that's really your whole audit. I will say that at the end of your audit, what we emailed to you, there is another page there, and that page is called your explanation letter. And the explanation letter is something that is specific to you. It's where we will tell you some really important information. And while the information is important, it's not a page turner. It's not interesting, and it's not necessarily the easiest thing to read. But it is really important, and it does have some information in there that you may have questions about. And it's important for you to understand how your credits come in, what your grad term is, why credits were denied. If you have those kinds of questions, now is the time for us to answer those for you so that you have all the information that you need as you make a decision to enroll. So that finishes our audit. Let me go back into our PowerPoint presentation. Sorry about this. And now I'll share this with you again. Oh. Okay, so we'll just go through here again. Sorry about this. Okay, so we've talked about unverified courses. We've talked about the theology requirements. Next, we'll talk about summer orientation. So let's say that you've looked at all of this and you feel like, hey, I'm super excited. I'm going to enroll at Boston College. What's next? This summer orientation is something that's really exciting at BC, and we bring students to campus for a couple days each summer. We bring all the transfer students to campus at the same time, so it's a really great chance for you to meet other transfer students. And unfortunately, this summer we can't do that, obviously. And so what will happen is that in July, things will be virtual, and then we'll move to a face-to-face structure as things continue in August. So in July, first of all, when you register for orientation, or when you come in as an enrolled student, once you submit your enrollment deposit, you will automatically be registered for orientation as an enrolled student. And in July, you will start to connect with other fellow transfer students, orientation leaders, and faculty and staff. You'll start the academic advising process, and you'll actually register for courses. A lot of this content obviously will be virtual and will be by Zoom. And when these things will happen, you will get to fill out some preferences so that it works with your schedule. You'll view some virtual content that will help prepare you for your transition to BC. And then the week before classes start in August, all new students will come to campus, and you'll be able to meet in small groups and have that chance to meet a lot of your incoming classmates. So that's really the the majority of my presentation for you. I know that we got some questions beforehand from when you registered, you were able to submit questions. So I'll just touch on a couple of those as we go on here. And one of them was, how do I change my major? And if you want to do that now, you can email us an admission and we can change your major for you now. If you want to wait until you get here, changing your major is very easy. You just go to student services and fill out a piece of paper. So it's not something that needs to be done now, but if you feel like you want it to be done now, you can email us an admissions. Someone asked a question about the Career Center and the services that are available there, and that's a really important question. The Career Service Center at BC, they do a great job working with students and helping them ascertain and discern what they want their career to be. And a lot of that advising is focused around questions of what brings you joy, what does the world need you to do, what are you good at. The questions are not necessarily focused around how much money do you want to make, what job do you want to have. It's more about finding something that brings you joy. So I think they do a great job in starting from the right place with that advising. There's a wonderful program called Eagle Exchange, which is a joint effort with our alumni office, and it matches current students up with BC alum who are always so willing to help students in their career search. They have a great database called Eagle Link, which is a database of internships not only in and around Boston, but across the country and the world. So if you're looking to set up internships, as many of our students do, there's going to be a lot of resources for you there for that as well. So the Career Center does a great job, and there's going to be lots of resources for you as you look to move on from BC and in your senior year. We've gotten some questions about AP credits and how do I submit them and how do they work. So basically, AP credits for us at BC work that we use them to fulfill core requirements. We don't award actual college credit for them. But like if you took AP English language in high school and you got a 4 or a 5, that fulfills the writing requirement at BC. If you took AP biology and you got a 4 or 5, that fulfills the natural science requirement. Again, all that information, how APs come in, what they fulfill, that can be found on the admission webpage. And if you have questions about that, certainly let us know, because I know it can be a little bit confusing. Basically, you just need to contact the College Board and have them send us an official score report. And once that's received by our office, we go in and update your academic record with it. We don't send you a new degree audit between now and orientation. When you attend orientation, you will have a new updated audit at that time. And if anything's missing from that, you can just be in touch with us. And it's important to know that in the admission office, the transfer team, we work with transfer students throughout their time at BC. And some of you may come and get all this stuff done in the summer and your first semester, and you never need us again, and that's okay too. But some of you will have questions that you come back to the admission office to ask about how things were transferred in, or how does this work, or can I change this? And those are ongoing conversations. So don't feel like you can't ask those questions, and there's going to be some things that we can't change, but things that we can to help you, we certainly will do that down the road. And someone asked, when will I be able to select courses? And again, that happens at orientation in July. And I think that's worth pointing out, because I think for a lot of students, especially at the transfer level, you're not new to college and you're looking to get your hand on courses and register for them now, and you're eager to do that. And I certainly understand that, and it's just a matter of waiting until transfer orientation in July with your academic advisor, and that's when you will be able to switch to register for classes. And as I wrap up here, I just want to encourage all of you, if any of you are applying for financial aid, it is important to contact the financial aid office. If you haven't received an award yet, it's likely they're missing documents or waiting for some information from you. So please be proactive. If you're not sure how to reach out to them, you can reach out to us and we can look up your financial aid application. We can let you know if you're missing anything. We can also give you the contact information of your specific financial aid counselor. And we know that financing a college education is sometimes a huge endeavor, and we want you to have all the information that you need to be able to decide to enroll at Boston College or not. As I mentioned before, we will send you some newsletters every Tuesday here moving forward. They're going to have some interesting, helpful videos for you to get a sense of campus and student life and academic life. So I encourage you to, check those out and use them. I encourage you to contact us in the admission office. We know that this is a weird time, and we're all doing our best to get through. So we're here for you, and if there's any way that we can be helpful, please reach out. With that being said, I thank you for joining us tonight. I hope this has been helpful to you, and stay safe, stay healthy.